Hi, and welcome to another episode of God, Guns, America. And we're very excited to be doing this podcast. This is our second podcast, and for those of you that took the time to listen to the first one, we want to say thank you very much. And if you haven't already done so, I strongly suggest that you do. Francisco brought a very strong message about God's grace and love, so I strongly suggest that you listen to it if you haven't already done so. Now, as the title suggests, and as some of you guys might have already figured out, we are going to be talking a lot about God, guns, and things that are going on in America nowadays, right? So I figure we'd start the second podcast by talking a little bit about guns and how they affect us as Christians. So to be more exact, I'm going to attempt to answer some of the questions I hear from people that question whether or not Christians should have and carry guns and what some of their concerns are. So I think it's worth noting or starting by taking a quick look at the origin of weapons to better understand their purpose. And so why don't we just start there? So since the beginning of early social units, weapons have formed a very important role by helping provide food, by hunting, of course, and then they were also using them for protection, to protect themselves. But this was over 60,000 years ago, so they were using bow and arrows back then. And then through advancement, we eventually get the gunpowder weapons, which is believed to have originated somewhere in China, Turkey, or in Europe, somewhere in Europe. And then, the evolution continues for another half century to where we eventually have the handheld firearms. But what do weapons have to do with us Christians? And what does the Bible say about it? Well, believe it or not, the Bible does give us some guidance when it comes to that. And history is actually full of wars and killers, and the Bible is no exception. As a matter of fact, the Bible makes reference of war as something inevitable and as part of this decaying world. Mark 13:7 says, "When you hear of wars and rumors of wars, do not be frightened. Those things must take place, but that is not yet the end." And actually, robbers and killers were so common in the Bible that weapons used for personal protection was nothing uncommon. Jesus, as a matter of fact, makes a recommendation to his disciples to carry a weapon. If we look at Luke 22, 36, and 38, Jesus is speaking to his disciples and he's telling them, but now if you have a purse, take it, and also a bag. And if you don't have a sword, sell your cloak and buy one. And then the disciples respond by saying, "See, Lord, we have 2 swords." To which Jesus responds, "That's enough." Now, something I do hear often, when pointing this out is, well, back then they were using swords. It's not the same as a gun. In my response, I mean, the Bible is pretty clear that, nobody has the right to take our lives, right? And that we have the right to defend ourselves. So it only makes sense if the bad guys are gradually, getting stronger weapons, getting a hold of stronger weapons. It only makes sense that we do too, right? We even it out. We buy the proper weapons to defend ourselves, to defend our families. But for those of you that think that way, let me ask you to put yourself in this scenario. I'm going to read a quick story, and I'm going to ask you to put yourself in this scenario. So imagine you're at home, you're minding your own business, of course, and all of a sudden a psychopath kicks your door open. He sees you, and he runs straight at you with a knife, and he's ready to stab you. By the time you try to do something, you're on the floor, he's over you, and he's attempting to stab you. Your family, whether it's your wife, kids, parents, brother, sister, they're in the other room, and they're next unless you can do something about it. Well, all you're able to reach is a piece of metal fireplace tool that you hit him with, and you hit him in the head, causing him a fatal injury, and then he eventually dies. So my question is, does using this metal tool make your actions more justifiable? Does it really make a difference whether you just defended yourself with a gun, a knife, or a random utensil you were able to grab a hold of? No, killing is killing. We might try to make it look worse by pointing out the weapon used, but the fact is you just killed somebody in self-defense and defending your family, of course. But what does the Bible say about this? Now let's look at Exodus 22:2. It says, "If a thief is caught breaking in at night and is struck a fatal blow, the defender is not guilty of bloodshed." And the first reaction I usually get when I point this verse out is, no way, that's on the Bible. It is. Go look it up. I promise. I'm not lying to you. And those that do want to look it up, that was Exodus chapter 22, verse 2. But regardless, killing is killing, and we can't deny that it will definitely have an impact in your life and in your family's life, right? So even if you're doing it to protect yourself, to protect your lives. All right, so my suggestion, if you're going to carry, I suggest that you take some training classes and you be very, very careful. Don't be a statistic or a story in the news of how an irresponsible gun owner was the cause of a fatality. And be ready to defend yourself and your family, of course, no matter what. All right, so if you're still with us up until now, I want to thank you guys for listening. I hope this was helpful. And please send us your thoughts, and we'd love to hear from you guys. Send us comments, questions, or suggestions, and we'll bring them up and discuss them. Or if you guys have a specific theme or something you guys are having a hard time with understanding, or just topics of interest, let us know, and we'll do our best to cover it here in the show. All right, so thanks again. This is God Guns America, and everyone have a blessed day.